the joys and the griefs and the hopes and the anxieties of the people of this age, and especially the poor and the needy, are the joys and anxieties, the hopes and the joys of the disciples of Christ. These sisters have done that well in their work in healthcare in rural Alabama, and I get to do the Irish people. And I'm going to do Sister Jane Kelly, and then I'm going to let Chad, I don't know about this Batman and... Oh, they're Batman. I don't know about that. Anyway, this is Sister Jane Kelly, and Sister Jane Kelly and I go back a ways. Sister came to our missions. She's probably now the one that's been with us the longest time. Like a number of the sisters that were mentioned, they were Jubilarians. I believe both are Golden Jubilarians. That didn't make it in this little text here, but Jane was born the fourth of 7 children, Catholic family, to James Patrick and Mary Fisher Kelly, and began the first steps of her journey on the Kelly farm, nestled in the green hills of northwest Missouri. Jane heard the call to a life of service during her high school days, and later as she followed her childhood dream to become a nurse at St. Teresa College in Kansas City, Missouri. Jane entered the Sisters of St. Joseph of Carondelet in 1954, graduating from St. Catherine College in St. Paul, Minnesota in 1959. She returned to Missouri at St. Joseph Hospital, where she served as a surgical nurse, operating supervisor and floor supervisor. And in 1972, Sister Jane received a call asking her to respond to a critical need in staffing at that time, Good Samaritan Hospital operated by the Edmundites in Selma, Alabama. Jane responded with a generosity and commitment to this call and came to work at the hospital at a time when there was acute shortage of registered nurses. She was willing to work whenever and wherever she was needed, and frequently worked the 3 to 11 p.m. shift as a nursing supervisor. Sister Jane was an invaluable asset and filled a vital role at Good Samaritan Hospital, sponsored by the Edmundite Fathers to care for African Americans. She then saw a lack of medical care that was available to those in Pineapple, Alabama, and personally recruited a nurse practitioner to work in the Pineapple Health Clinic, which opened back in 1979. Sister Jane then went to receive her degree as a family certified nurse practitioner from the University of Virginia at Charlottesville in 1980. And when Sister returned and assumed her position at the Rural Health Medical Program, she was personally responsible for recruiting physician Sister Roseanne Cook, who still works with her at the Pineapple Health Center today. For over 48 years, Sister Jane has worked tirelessly in the healthcare field and has devoted her life for the past 25 years to the underserved and vulnerable population in Pineapple, Alabama. The people in the area trust her and will often travel 50 to 75 miles simply to receive her help. She is known for her competence and skill as a medical professional, serving as a family certified nurse practitioner in rural Alabama. And before we recognize her for this award, I just add one final note that I think applies to her and to all of the sisters that have worked in healthcare for us. It was as a result of our involvement with healthcare that the sisters involved with healthcare identified oftentimes other needs that needed to be staffed. For example, a mother might bring in a 4 or 5-year-old child whose responsiveness was not what a child from a well-off middle-class family might be, and it prompted us to open preschool programs. They might find a young teenager who couldn't read the literature on healing them of their infirmity, and that gave rise to our education programs to help improve literacy. So it is a result of that collaboration with these women religious that the Edmundite missions are deeply indebted to people like Sister Jane Kelly. And now I'll turn it over to we also, instead of taking up a collection, we pass it around and let people take out what they need in Alabama.
Doing the best we can with what little we have for the least of these. That is the motto of the Southern Missions. And certainly Sister Jane and Sister Roseanne are where the rubber hits the road for many poor and disadvantaged in rural Alabama. Sister Jane and Sister Roseanne were alerted to this event and their award months and months and months ago, and I was berated by the family for not alerting them sooner. To which was responded by Jane, "This is just what we do. We're not that special." It is the humility with which they enter into the work and be that service of Christ among the poor that makes them so special. Their call as Sisters of St. Joseph in caring for the dear neighbor is so ingrained in their heart that every day they meet a new neighbor. Generations, there are 3 generations of people now that come and say, "She's my doctor." They've taken care of all of us. So generations and generations have only known these 2 women as their healthcare providers and as the face of Christ. It's an amazing and a legacy that is beyond compare. And we as a people should be eternally grateful for that. There's one thing, and I think many of us have probably said this to one another or at a certain time: how was your day? For Jane, it starts at about 4:45 in the morning, leaving home at 6, getting to work at 7, leaving work at 6:30, getting home at about 7:30. And she can fill you in on a day's worth of activity. One particular day for Sister Roseanne, "How was your day?" went like this. "Well, I was driving home, and on my way, I stopped to help some young men. And after that, I was beaten, I was put in the trunk, and I was shot at 4 times and left in the woods to die." Are you upset, sister? No. Not one bullet touched me, but one grazed my cheek. The Lord clearly had more in store for me. When you come home sometime and you think of what is your day and how has your day been, remember, Christ is calling us once again to be something more tomorrow until he calls us home. Sister Roseanne began her life's journey in Yonkers, New York, the second child of Ken and Mary Cook. During her high school days, Sister Roseanne heard the Lord's call to religious life, but was not quite ready to say yes, and studied at St. Louis University for a year following graduation from high school. In 1958, she was ready to honor her calling and entered the congregation of the Sisters of St. Joseph of Carondelet in South St. Louis. Following years of formation in the novitiate and in the juniorate, Sister earned a BA from Fontbonne University and was then assigned to teach at her alma mater, St. Joseph Academy, for 3 years. In 1967, she began graduate studies in biology at Washington University in St. Louis and completed a PhD in developmental psychology, or physiology, in 1972. For the next 7 years, she was a college professor, a department chair of biology at Fontbonne University. In answer to another call from the Lord, Sister Roseanne asked to be allowed to apply to medical school. at the tender age of 40. We just learned that today on the car ride here. 40 years old at the time, her superior said yes, even though her age was against her being accepted. Sister believes it was all in God's plan, as she was accepted at the University of Missouri in Columbia, Missouri. Following the 4 years of medical school, she did her internship and residency training in family medicine at Southern Illinois University in Carbondale, Illinois. During residency training, Sister Jane would call her periodically to say how much she needed doctors in Pineapple, Alabama. She invited Sister Roseanne to come for a visit. In 1986, she began her mission to the poor in Wilcox County, Alabama, and has been there ever since. She feels blessed to have her dear friend and nurse practitioner, Jane, to help her as she takes care of 2 rural clinics and balances hospital and nursing home duties as well. Therefore, for their commitment to God's people and their steadfast devotion to healing the Lord's neediest, the Board of Trustees of St. Edmund's Retreat is proud and honored to present Dr. Roseanne Cook, CSJ, and Sister Jane Cook, RN. Oh, sorry, Kelly. It's not on the script. The St. Edmund's Medal of Honor for service to the church and community, and regardless of the name, declare to all that you both are women of virtue and grace.
What more can be said? Thank you to the Board of Trustees, to Father Tom, and to all who made this possible. We are deeply honored for being here, and we appreciate your kindness. Thank you very much.
And I also thank you. And I also say, if it weren't for the Fathers of St. Edmund, who helped us through all these years, we represent quite a few years, as you realize, and they've been faithful supporters of our work. If it hasn't been for them, many of the good things that we have tried would not have happened. We do need financial support when you're working with the poor. They don't have anything except great faith and great love and great gratitude. And we have the same. Thank you.